Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, February 8th, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Repenning, James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation. Mr. Garcia.
Michael Patney, Bureau of Engineering.
Seffi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Lance Owishi with the Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment, nor do we have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comments section. We did receive speaker cards under items number 9 and 10.
Okay, a few housekeeping items first. Agenda item 7, at the request of the council office and the Bureau, frankly, the Bureau's requested that we continue the item and then the request of the council office was that we continue the item, same request for continuance until next week. I'm recommending that we continue the item until Friday, March 10th. There are some environmental issues that have been raised around it that I need some time to work through before I preside over the hearing on the issues that relate to agenda item number 7. So we'll continue agenda item number 7 to March the 10th. Is that a Friday, Mr. Campos?
That is correct.
Okay. Agenda item number 8. It's been requested by the Bureau that we continue agenda item number 8 until next week, but they didn't give me a date. Mr. Campos, do you have a date on number 8?
Item number 8 is to be continued to Monday, February 13, 2017.
Okay, so that's just continued until Monday for agenda item number 8. Agenda items 2, 3, and 4. We have assessment hearings in Council Districts 2, 4, and 11. Street lighting. Mr. Flamenco on numbers 2, 3, and 4.
Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Items 2 to 4 pertain to lighting districts which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Ballots for items 2 to 4 were mailed on December 29, 2016. Ballots must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Wednesday, February 15th. We have not received any objections to date on items 2 to 4. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 2 to 4 forthwith to City Council.
Any questions on 2, 3, or 4? I don't have any questions on 2, 3, or 4. Is there a motion on 2 through 4? Commissioner Rivas, seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda items 2 through 4. Any issues, sending them forthwith? We'll send those items forthwith. Agenda item number 12 in Council District 15. The mayor has approved and authorized the board to execute a letter of agreement with Leverage Information Systems to implement a pilot program to evaluate the use of a surveillance camera system to monitor and enforce illegal dumping activities. This is being sent back for signature. Is there a second to, with approval of course, is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item number 12 forthwith? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 13. The mayor has approved and authorized the board to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Los Angeles World Airports for the Bureau of Sanitation to provide waste and recyclables collection, processing, and or disposal services. Again, it's approved by the mayor, being sent back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we approve agenda item 13 forthwith? By Commissioners Repenning and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 14 in Council Districts 1, 9, and 14. Specification submitted for board adoption and authorization to advertise for the invitation of bids for the Central Business District Adaptive Traffic Control System. It's an ATSAC system. Estimate $3,111,990. The bid receipt date's Wednesday, March 15, 2017. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 14 forthwith? By Commissioners Jacinto and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 15, a stop notice from Neal Electric Corporation. They've transmitted a stop notice in the amount of $1,457,483.15 for performing labor and furnishing work in connection with the LAPD Police Academy Replacement Training Facility Project. The contractor is Kemp Brothers Construction. Is there a second to my motion that we receive agenda item number 15 forthwith? By Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 1, the opening of bids on a public works project, which is the San Pedro 3rd Street Relief Storm Drain. Mr. Campos.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The bids to be received today is for the San Pedro 3rd Street Relief Storm Drain Project. The city has estimated this project to be at $1,336,364. This is in Council District number 15. The first bid received for this project is from PMCM Consulting Engineers for a total bid amount of $1,162,611 even. That's $1,162,611 from PMCM Consulting Engineers. The second bid received for this project is from Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,442,000 even. That's $1,442,000 from Mike Perlich and Sons Incorporated. The third bid received is from Blois Construction Incorporated, that's BLOIS Construction Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $1,537,640 even. That's $1,537,640. For the record, line item number 14 and the total bid amount has been lined out by the contractor, but both have been initialed. The fourth bid received for this project is from Mladen Buntich Construction Company, Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $2,317,500 even. That's $2,317,500 from Mladen Buntich Construction Company, Incorporated. The fifth bid received for this project is from MNR Construction Incorporated for a total bid amount of $1,889,316 even. That's $1,889,316 from MNR Construction Incorporated. The sixth bid received for this project is from Kolich and Sons LP for a total bid amount of $1,437,260 even. That's $1,437,260 from Kolich and Sons LP. The seventh bid received for this project is from Clark Contracting Corporation for a total bid amount of $1,985,582 even. That's $1,985,582 from Clark Contracting Corporation. For the record, line item 14 has been lined out by the contractor but has been initialed. The eighth bid received for this project is from Mike Bubalo Construction Company, Incorporated, for a total bid amount of $1,276,732 even. That's $1,276,732 from Mike Bubalo Construction Company, Incorporated. For the record, line item number 17 has been lined out but initialed by the contractor. The ninth bid received for this project is from Vasilch Incorporated for a total bid amount of $2,398,278 even. That's 2398278 from Vasilch Incorporated. For the record, line item number 11 has been lined out but not initialed by the contractor. The 10th and final bid received for this project is from Sully Miller Contracting Company for a total bid amount of $1,464,000 even. That's 1464000 from Sully Miller Contracting Company. For the record, line item 717, and the total bid amount has been lined out by the contractor and all have been initialed. President James, that concludes the bid openings for today's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Campos, and thank you to all the bidders. Is there a second to my motion that we receive the bids forthwith? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will do so. Mr. Campos, do we have any general comment cards, general public comment?
No general public comment.
Okay, then we'll close general public comment. Any cards under neighborhood council category of commentary?
None received.
Okay, we'll close the neighborhood council category of commentary. Colleagues, is there approval to my motion that we, or a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Monday, January 23rd, 2017? Commissioner Repenning, any objection? Without objection, we will approve those meeting minutes. Mr. Campos, we have a certificate of recognition today. Public Works Novus Agenda Software System that I understand you're going to be the point person on.
That is correct. It
Go
is
ahead,
my
sir.
pleasure. So I'm going to walk up to the podium, so just give me about 30 seconds.
All right?
President James, fellow commissioners, it's my pleasure and honor to be before you to present a series of recommendations and certificates to employees not only within the Department of Public Works, the Board of Public Works, but also with our partnering agency in the Office of the City Clerk. I know that Holly and Shannon are in the office, and I'm going to have you both join me if you don't mind me asking you to come up, but I'd like to read just a couple of things of why these employees are being recognized, why this project is so important, and why it has an impact not only in the city, but also it showcases how departments can collaborate and also partner with each other to actually put in a solution by leveraging best available technology and also helping us not only improve operating efficiencies, but also becoming more transparent to the general public. So the Novus Agenda software system was really a partnership. It's a concept that grew working with the Office of the City Clerk and making sure that we can automate and streamline our agenda process. As you know, about 6-7 months ago, the agenda packet that you receive got a facelift. So one of the major improvements, which you would think it would be an easy one, was actually just adding our symbol to the agenda and actually writing the word agenda to our agenda. So those are things that were really minor, but most importantly, I think it also gave us an opportunity to start numerating how many agenda items are being considered by your board. So on average, your board considers anywhere from 1,200 to about 1,400 items per year, and you award about 300 to 400 contracts and task order solicitations and also construction work orders that come through this board. So you are the only full-time board. You are extremely busy, which keeps me busy as well. And I think it's a opportunity not only to work with you as commissioners, but also an opportunity to work with our city clerk's office to make sure that we're improving city services and providing and delivering public services to all general constituents across the entire city. So the project, we proposed this project back in around March or April of 2016, and we came to the board basically indicating that we were going to start looking into leveraging a best available technology, not only to automate, but to streamline the agenda setting process. We presented a concept to you that was approved by your board, and we moved forward with it. We did start the implementation in July of 2016. We currently have a self-service feature in our Novus Agenda system which allows all of our bureaus to actually go into the system to agendize an item and to upload the item into our agenda software packaging. We currently have the Bureau of Engineering, the Office of Community Beautification, and also above grant facility variances and appeals that are currently in the new process. We are onboarding the Bureau of Street Lighting, Sanitation, and the Bureau of Contract Administration this month, and we will be going live in March. So this is a great opportunity for the bureaus because now they can actually take control of when they can come to the board as opposed to going through the board office asking, can I go on this date? Now it's fully under their control. It'll provide them an opportunity to agendize it, not only for the coming weeks, but for the coming years. So if they know that something's coming down the pipeline 2-3 months down the road, bureaus will be able to upload the information onto the system as opposed to waiting in the pipeline in the background and no one really knows about it until maybe 2 or 3 weeks before it actually comes up. So it's a great opportunity for us to showcase what's coming down the pipeline and also improve our transparency. Some of the things that improved over the years, we definitely were able to reduce our carbon footprint. So we were able to reduce the paper consumption by about 50%. Commissioner Repenning, this is something that came out of our discussions when you first came on board, and that is, why are we using so much paper? Can we go paperless? Can we do e-distribution? So this concept actually borrowed with your idea as well, and I thank you for that because we've been able to not only do the e-distributions for the agendas throughout the entire city, but now we're also distributing electronic copies of the endorsed reports that go back out to city departments and also the bureaus as a whole. So before, we would use probably about a ream of paper a day. Now we're actually only using maybe about 50 pages or 60 pages, depending on the item. So we've definitely reduced the consumption of the paper and improved our carbon footprint. Other things that we were able to do and showcase is that we not only were able to implement the enumeration system into our agenda system, but we were able to also be more consistent with our fellow partners in the city clerk's office. So I look up to Holly all the time and Shannon now as the executive officer there, and we look at what are you doing in your department that I can use and learn from. Give me your lessons learned and tell me how I can improve my operations here, because they're very similar, in fact 10 times as large as we are, because the city council meets 3 times a week, so does your board. City council probably considers 10 to 15,000 items, your board considers about 1,200. So we are almost like a mirror of what city council does. So leveraging their expertise and leveraging their ability and willingness to help us to improve, we were able to not only take this concept from a concept and a visual, but we've actually been able to operationalize that. So with that, a couple of months ago, we were awarded the IT Award, and that's the 2016 Outstanding IT Project Award at the LA Digital Government Summit in August of 2016. The staff that's going to be presented an award today was there to receive that award in recognition with the Office of the City Clerk along with Information Technology Agency. So with that, I'm going to read some names off and I'm going to ask the individuals, and Holly, I'm going to give the mic to you if you wanted to say a few words, and then we'll read the names and the certificate and then have them all come up for a few minutes.
Good morning. Thank you. Holly Walcott, City Clerk. Thank you for honoring the work that we've done on behalf of your board. Novus came out of automating the city council agendas, and our goal was to do 2 things, as Fernando said. One was to completely automate the process, so all departments now submit all reports to the city council paperless. And so to leverage that and to move to other commissions throughout the city, yours being the largest in terms of consumption and meeting, we welcome that opportunity. I do believe I have the best system staff in the city. I'm sure other department heads feel the same, but it is because of the diligent hard work of my information technology staff that we've been able to leverage, starting with your board and hopefully with we're looking at other boards such as DWP to try and help the city go paperless and, as Fernando said, transparent to the public. So with that, I guess we can call up the names, Fernando.
So team members, as I call your name, if you can come up to the podium, that would be great. So I'm going to start off with the Office of the City Clerk, Finn Lamb. Finn, come on up. Albert Lau. Albert. And also Karen Rodriguez,
Who's retired.
who is now retired. Wow. Karen, thank you if you're listening. With the board office, we have Ann Veal. Ann. Martha Prieto. Martha. And by the way, Martha, if you don't know Martha, Martha is the one that actually writes our minutes. So this is a language that she actually writes every day, memorializing what happens in this boardroom 3 times a week. And that language is what I call a dying out language. And she's the one that actually makes it very really nice for us and actually memorializes everything that happens in this boardroom. So Martha, thank you. An extra thank you for all you do.
Well, and she would then clearly have one of the most rewarding jobs in the city.
Marion Margayan. Miriam. Jessica Lamb. So Jessica was, at the time that we actually launched this project, was with the Board of Public Works, as you may know. She recently went over within the city family to the Bureau of Contract Administration, so super jealous of them, but they actually got a really good employee. We selected her first, though.
It happens, it happens.
And then Truman Brown with our IT group. Just to read it out loud, in recognition of Outstanding Information Technology Project awarded to you for your exceptional performance in the implementation of the Public Works Novus Agenda software system, your interdepartmental collaboration has contributed to the increase in operating efficiency, communication, and transparency through exploring ways to automate and streamline the board agenda creation process. Your experience, dedication, and enthusiasm is appreciated and acknowledged by the Department of Public Works and the City of Los Angeles. So
Thank
with
you.
that, thank you very much.
Commissioner Repenning.
Sure, I just want to thank you, Fernando and Holly and the whole team that worked on this. I think this is a great example of how we can use technology to help modernize our work at the city and to create efficiencies both with staff time and with our use of resources such as paper. I think it's just a great example of really looking at how to bring innovation into our work and getting it done. And I really just applaud you. I also want to ask that maybe we could take the same lens and look at our bidding process next, because there's a lot of paper being wasted over there too. But
I will take that challenge, yes.
But that's not to very much appreciate the work that went into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Repenning. Commissioner Davis.
I want to thank also Holly and Fernando for putting this project together and implementing it. I think it really enhances our organizational performance, particularly here in Public Works, but even more important, or equally as important, is the fact that it provides the kind of consistency between how the City of Los Angeles works. And this becomes very important to those who do business with us, who come here to get things done. They will know that there is a consistent system that they can find on all areas of the city, and it is my hope that Holly will be successful at bringing DWP on board too, because we deserve to have not only just simply transparency, but we deserve to have a system that is user-friendly to the taxpayers that are funding all of what we do. This system is a fine example of, again, not only enhancing our organizational performance, but it is one of implementing the kind of consistency that will make the City of Los Angeles the kind of city that is user-friendly for those citizens who help pay for our services. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James, Fernando, Executive Officer Campos, Holly Shannon, and all you all-stars. This is so cool because this is real. This is so fun because we could work all the time at home. We don't have to carry these books around, and the access to go electronically and just review is just tremendous. And it really hits the back to basics agenda. The mayor wants a well-run city. So how are we, lessening the carbon footprint, the time that it takes to route all these things is a net delta. And so that's a good thing. Thank you so much for everybody who participated. Let's continue. Novus means new or all that good stuff. New age. Excellent. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner Sendo. Commissioner Rivas.
Thank you so much for making all of our jobs easier and also making our work accessible to the public. Like Commissioner Davis said, I really appreciate that it's a consistent system between departments so that even the public doesn't have to go from one system to the next with working with one city, right? So I really like that. We're united in terms of what we're using across the board. So thank you to the Office of City Clerk for helping us get on board to this system.
Thank you, Commissioner Rivas. And I'll close by, first, Ms. Walcott, thank you for the collaboration. Another successful project from the City Clerk's office. We're seeing them consistently, and it's great that under your leadership to have the collaboration with us, we're very excited about, so thank you for that. The residents, the citizens, the taxpayers love to see it, and it's a great benefit across the board. On the Board of Public Works side, I'll call out a couple of folks that we're recognizing, Mr. Campos and Mr. Brown, Truman, the two of you, probably more than anyone, really, just because of your time here and the work that you've done on this, had to put up with the brunt of my complaints sometimes when I would have a constituent that was having a difficult time accessing our board agenda or the transmittals. And the fix, Truman, you were on it so fast, so many times, and Fernando as well. To get to this point, it was a neighborhood council in the Northwest Valley, North Hills West Neighborhood Council. I knew I would remember. I was speaking to them about public works items, and it wasn't one of the neighborhood council board members, it was one of the audience members, basically stood up to attest on our behalf on how simple it is now to access our agenda and to access the transmittals, that they were pitching it to the other people in the room. They're like, hey, you guys can just go on the website, click, and then if you just on your phone, if you just touch the blue agenda item, it pulls up the transmittal. This is our marketing, and so I mentioned that today to let you know that your hard work, it's felt across the city by people and that's just because we don't hear from them. That's a good thing in essence. That means that things are getting done well, and we all know who we have some of the consistent folks that watch what we do, and they're consistent critics. Sometimes I give them nicknames like Mr. 40%. Because he's right about 40% of the time. I'm not going to say who he is publicly, although he knows who he is. And we haven't gotten a complaint from him since you guys have implemented this. And quite the contrary, he's complimentary on it. And so, and that's the one word there is transparency. And so you guys in addition to this, you get the Transparency Award, and as far as I'm concerned today. And in city government, especially from somebody who comes from the private sector, the Transparency Award, by making government more transparency, is real important. So thank you all for what you've done. We really appreciate it. We will take just a 1-minute recess from the agenda to get a photo to memorialize this, and then we'll come right back and get to work. Thank you, everybody. Okay, thank you, everyone. Coming back on our agenda item number 5, Memorandum of Understanding between the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment and Bureau of Contract Administration, recommending that the board approve the execution of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Los Angeles Housing and Community Investment Department and the Bureau of Contract Administration for contract compliance services. Chris Jensen. Oh, you're not Chris Jensen.
No, I'm not. Good morning, commissioners, executive staff. My name's Andrea Chisholm, a Bureau of Contract Administration, and I'll present the cooperation agreement between Housing and Community Investment Department and Bureau of Contract Administration for BCA to provide support services for public works projects awarded by HCID, Housing and Finance Development Division, as defined as public works projects in the California Labor Code. The contract itself is a 3-year duration for Bureau of Contract Administration to provide oversight, training, and various support services. HCID has well over 20 years of experience in administrating a fairly complex policy on their own public works projects to ensure that they deliver affordable housing to the community of Los Angeles. So really, the support services that BCA would be providing would be based on the fact that they're certified by the state. They have authority by the state for enforcement, for assessment of penalties, collection, and would represent at hearings if something like that should occur. Compensation, HCID has agreed to reimburse BCA on a quarterly basis for 10% of the salary of a senior management analyst. And we have agreed to meet at least twice a year to revisit this to make sure of the adequacy of the resources. And I'm open for questions.
Any questions at all? This makes sense for us. And we're getting cost recovery, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda item number 6. Council District 9, increasing budget, contingency, and issuing multiple change orders to Spinello companies, recommending that the board first authorize $650,000 in additional contingency and approve a revised construction budget of $13,519,169 for the North Outfall Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 3 Vermont to Trinity project. And secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue multiple change orders to Spinello for the project for the known and projected cost impacts related to the North Outfall Sewer collapses, as well as extra work to the original project scope. Arson? Voskirchian? How did I do on the last name, Arson?
Perfect.
Voskirchian.
Yeah.
Great.
Perfect. Thank
Go
you
ahead,
very much.
Sir. Good to see you again.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Arsen Voskirchian. I'm with the Bureau of Engineering, Wastewater Conveyance Construction Division. We are requesting this additional contingency and the authority to issue the multiple change orders on this project because there have been several emergency responses required as a result of the NOS North Outfall Sewer collapsing, and it's due to mostly deterioration over time. And so the sewers have collapsed in multiple locations during the construction of this project. And in working with the contractor, we've been able to respond immediately to these collapses and prevent any damage to private property, any injuries, and any spills. And so the contractor's been very cooperative. We've been working with them. However, we've exhausted most of our original contingency as a result of these emergency responses. We've also used or exhausted the additional contingency that was previously approved. And so we are requesting the additional contingency to pay for the restoration of some of these sites. And in addition to the restoration of the emergency work, we still have some construction to complete on the original scope of the project. We are approximately 65% construction complete in the field right now. And so we do need some contingency to keep us going for the remainder of the construction. And so the request or the additional contingency we're requesting is to pay for the emergency restorations as well as the remaining contract work.
Thank you, sir. And Arson, I'm just going to, you made the point, it came up in our briefing. I just want to put an exclamation point on it for the record that given some of the emergency circumstances that have happened here, the Bureau has been very satisfied with the work and the response of the contractor on this, correct?
That is correct. They've been responsive. They've worked with us, and they've been cooperative to respond immediately when these issues have happened. And as a result of that, that is why there hasn't been any injuries, there haven't been any damages to private property, and no spills of the sewer itself.
And because of the complications with this project, we result in the request for today.
Yes.
Any questions on agenda item number 6? Is there a motion on number 6 by Commissioner Jacinto? I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 6. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's see. 7 and 8 were continued. Agenda item number 9. Requested contract award, Hyperion Treatment Plant 1 mile outfall repair, Bureau of Engineering and Contract Administration in Council District 11. Recommending that the board first declare Curtin Maritime Corporation first low bidder after the local business preference is applied to be non-responsive as discussed in the report. Secondly, declare TechCom International Corporation second low bidder after the LBP is applied to be the lowest responsible bidder and award them a contract for the project for $5,465,000. And third, authorize myself or 2 members of the board to execute the contract after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Mr. Zahedi, I see you here on number 9. Why don't you go ahead and start us with a summary of number 9, and then we'll move to Ms. McGlinchey and the speaker.
Good morning, Sean Zahedi, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. This is a contract award for the Hyperion 1 mile outfall repair project. The work includes placing ballast rock for scour protection under a portion of the outfall and making repairs to the concrete encasement and to the concrete pylons supporting the outfall, and also removing heavy marine growth that has accumulated over the voids that need to be filled. The work also includes complying with special condition imposed on the project by a variety of regulatory agencies. The project is categorically exempt from the provisions of CEQA. Compared with the city engineer estimate of $5,750,000, 3 bids were received for this project that are shown on page 3 of the staff report. The bids range from 4.96% low to 0.46% low. Based on the range of the bids submitted, staff believes that the bids are reasonable. For this project, BCA verified that the first low bidder and the second low bidder, TechCom and Manson, are not certified local businesses. The third low bidder, Curtin Maritime, is a certified local business. Based on that, Curtin becomes the apparent low bidder for bid evaluation purposes after the LBP percentages are applied. As far as business inclusion program is concerned, the project was advertised with anticipated levels of 4% MBE, 2% WBE, 25% SBE, 8% EBE, 3% DVBE. It was also advertised with a mandatory subcontracting minimum of 20%. The Office of Contract Compliance, based on a review of the documents, determined that Curtin, the first low bidder after the LBP is applied, pledged an MSM amount of 13.96%, which did not meet the required percentage of 20% MSM. OCC then sent a memo to Curtin informing them that based on them not meeting the MSM requirements, that their bid will be deemed non-responsive. Curtin wrote back to the OCC and challenged their finding as far as not listing, as far as not meeting the MSM requirements. The Curtin contended that due to a clerical error, the contract value amount for one bid-listed subcontractor, namely Global Diving and Salvage, Inc., was not listed on page 16 of the bid document. However, they state that they did show the contract amount, the subcontract amount for Global Diving on in two other places in the bid documents. So for that reason, they challenged the OCC's finding. According to the page 16 of bid document, failure to list subcontractors and subcontracting amounts on page 16 through 18 with the bid sufficient to meet or exceed the MSM may cause the bid to be rejected by the board as non-responsive. Additionally, the dollar values for Global Diving listed on the BIP summary sheet and escrow bid documents, as well as on the sub-bid submitted as part of the BIP outreach, did not match. Furthermore, these documents cannot be used as a substitute for listing the dollar amounts on bid pages 16 through 18. In view of the above findings, OCC recommends that Curtin be found to be non-responsive for failure of their BIP outreach and for failure to meet the MSM requirements. TechCom, the second low bidder after the LBP is applied, complied with the BIP outreach requirements of the bid. They pledged participation levels of 0% MBE, 0% WBE, 9% SBE, 9.27% EBE, 0% DVBE, 47.55% OBE, and complied with the MSM requirements by pledging a subcontractor participation level of 61.27%. In view of the above findings, TechCom is the lowest responsible bidder for this contract. TechCom is also a first-time bidder. They have no record of having worked on public works projects within the last 5 years. The OCC checked with state agencies, and none of the agencies reported any labor compliance problems concerning the contract. In view of these findings, staff recommends that board declare Curtin first low bidder after the LBP is applied to be non-responsive, and declare TechCom second low bidder after LBP to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award the contract to them. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Zahedi. Commissioner Davis, you have a question for Mr. Zahedi?
Not right now.
Okay. Ms. McGlinchey? Good morning. Mr. Zahedi summarized OCC from BCA, Office of Contract Compliance, and the Bureau of Contract Administration. Just a couple of points to quickly make sure that I'm clear with a brief summary. So, Curtin is an LBE, right? Curtin is a local business?
Yes, Curtin is a local business as well as a SBE.
Okay. TechCom is the entity with which the Bureau is recommending the contract award go to, they are they don't have a local business preference, but they're a WBE?
TechCom actually, they are getting a small LBE preference because while they are not LBE certified, they are pledging over 20% of their contract to local subcontractors. So they did get a 2% preference there. They themselves are not only a WBE certified firm, they are also SBE and EBE certified.
Okay. So, all that said, the real crux of the non-responsive designation for Curtin that's recommended by the Bureau of Contract Administration is based on, as Mr. Zeddy said, this the lack of meeting the mandatory subcontracting minimum goal in the bid documents, correct?
Correct.
So and we'll hear from Curtin in a minute, but in the letter, they claim a clerical error. What's the Bureau of Contracts Administration response to that?
So, as they said, they did a clerical error, as was summarized, on page 1-6, which is where they had listed global diving and salvage without any dollar amount.
Is that a requirement to list the dollar amount?
Yes, it is. On that page, in bold, it states that failure to list subcontractors and subcontracting amounts on pages 1-6 through 1-8 with the bid sufficient to meet or exceed the MSM may cause the bid to be rejected by the Board of Public Works as non-responsive. The following paragraph goes on again to talk about the Public Contract Code and how you must list subcontractors working in an amount in excess of 0.5% of the contractor's total bid or $10,000, whichever is greater. But that, however, the bidder must list any additional subcontractor and dollar value of the subcontractor, regardless of the amount, if the bidder wishes to have the subcontract amount credited towards meeting the MSM level of participation for this project. In this case, it's an unfortunate clerical error, but they did not put any dollar amount for global diving. This, if you will recall from last Wednesday, is the proper application of the Valley Crest landscape court case versus the City of Davis, in that to allow them to plug in that number, which we don't even have a consistent number. The references that they made have different numbers for all of them with regards to the subcontractor. To allow them to plug in that number now to bring their bid into conformity is not allowed.
And it's because
it gives them a bid advantage.
Because it's after the fact?
Yes.
Okay. Anything further before we move on to Curtin? Commissioner Arcento.
Thank you. Linda, has Curtin done work with us before? The city?
I'm not 100% sure. I want to say yes.
Okay, but you're not
but
totally sure.
But I could not say with certainty.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else from Ms. McGlinchey? Okay. Martin Curtin? Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Rivas.
The question
go ahead.
for Ms. McGlinchey.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
They left the global diving amount blank, right, in the subcontractor amount. Does that change if they were to add it in? Does it change the final bid amount? That's what I'm not clear about. We don't know.
They would not be allowed to change their final bid amount.
But if they were to add the amount, then would it increase this bid amount, right? Because it wouldn't all total.
No, because the schedule of work and price is where they get their bid amount from is separate from the listing of subcontractors.
Okay.
Mr. Jordan?
Yeah, I agree with the answer. It wouldn't change the total bid amount. It would, however, convert their bid from a non-responsive bid to a responsive bid, which is one of the reasons we don't allow people to change their bid or make changes, because it allows them to make that change after they've seen all the other bids.
Commissioner Davis.
I wanted a clarification. The recommended firm has the lowest bid.
Yes, if you're not looking at the local business preference, our recommendation is to the apparent lowest bidder. Their bid was approximately $250,000 less than Curtin's.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything further before we hear from Mr. Curtin? Okay, thank you. Mr. Curtin, and just so you know, sir, we don't put a 2-minute time limit on you since you're one of the real parties in interest. The only thing I would ask, just out of courtesy, if you begin to repeat yourself, then I'll step in and we'll go from there. Okay? Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. President, Council. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Captain Martin Curtin. I'm the founder and CEO of Curtin Maritime. Curtin Maritime is a prime contractor specializing in marine construction and heavy offshore marine construction. We're headquartered in LA County. We're a local business enterprise and a small business enterprise certified by the State of California Department of General Services. We were the first low bidder on Hyperion Treatment Plant outfall repair rebid. I'm here today because our bid was found technically unresponsive due to a clerical error. We are here to confirm that we are substantially responsive to the RFP as we far succeed the mandatory subcontracting minimum requirements. As required, Curtin Maritime submitted Global's contractor dollar value at the Business Assistance Virtual Network, BAVIN, which is shown on our BAVIN Business Inclusion Program. The reason why there's a discrepancy between those two numbers is the BAVIN number is an estimate. So there is a small difference between the actual number and the number that's rounded in the BAVIN system. Additionally, Global subcontractor dollar value was listed on the documents we submitted into escrow. Unfortunately, due to a clerical error, Global's contract value amount was not listed on page 1-6 of our proposal. This clerical error renders our proposal technically unresponsive. However, 48% of the work on this job will be performed by subcontractors, and we are therefore far exceeding the mandatory subcontractor minimum of 20%, by over double. This morning, we're not asking for an exception to the mandatory subcontracting minimum requirement. We are simply asking this board to waive the informality of our clerical error and award Curtin Maritime this contract, recognizing that we are meeting the mandatory subcontracting minimums. This board has the power under the City of Los Angeles Charter, Section 371C, to waive any formality in the bid or proposal when doing so will be to the advantage of the city. The entire purpose of the Business Inclusion Program and mandatory subcontracting minimum is to include small and disadvantaged businesses in contracts with the City of Los Angeles. Specifically, this program was created to, and I quote the city, ensure job-creating small businesses have an equal opportunity to do business with the city. The exact purpose of the MSM is to ensure full and equitable participation by minority, women, small businesses, and other businesses in the provisions of all goods and services to the department on a contractual basis. Not only are 3 of our 5 subcontractors small or disadvantaged businesses, but we are a local business enterprise and a small business enterprise as the prime contractor, certified by the State of California Department of General Services. And I would like clarification because earlier it was stated that TechCom was a small business, and I do not believe that is the case. If you do not overlook this clerical error, award this contract to the second low bidder, TechCom, you will have a 9% small business enterprise participation rate. If you award this project to Curtin Maritime, you will ensure a 56% small business enterprise and disadvantaged business enterprise participation rate. The entire reason you review these recommendations is to act within your powers in the best interest of the City of Los Angeles. We believe having a small and local prime contractor with a project performed by a 56% small business enterprise and disadvantaged business enterprise is in the best interest of Los Angeles. We're a local heavy offshore marine construction that self-performs work. We own our own floating cranes, tugboats, barges. Our number one customer is the Army Corps of Engineers. We've never worked for the city of Los Angeles before, but we're really looking forward to that opportunity. This is not like a normal land-based construction project. This is an extremely complex project, and the resume and the assets of the prime contractor are going to be the defining force that gets this project done. We work exclusively for Chevron El Segundo, which is right next door. We're really, really confident with that piece of water. And the reason why, in my opinion, that this board exists is for this exact situation. We've got a great local business with with a great reputation with the leading heavy civil offshore marine construction contracting group, which is the Army Corps of Engineers. And we have the city of Los Angeles, which has done a phenomenal job of paving the way for companies like mine to have access to this. And this opportunity to us is extremely important. And I wouldn't be in front of you if I didn't firmly believe that we were not the absolute best possible fit for this situation. There's no disputing that on 1-6, we did not fill in the dollar amount. There's 3 other supporting documents. We're not asking to get out of our mandatory subcontracting limits. All we're asking for is for you guys to understand that a clerical error was made, and it's in the best interest of the city of Los Angeles, and more importantly, the Hyperion Outfall project to be successfully completed by Curtin Maritime. We properly submitted the 2 documents to the board to demonstrate Global's contractor amount. There is a discrepancy, but that is because the criteria in which we're submitting is slightly different. One is an estimated value, the other one is a hard dollar amount. We ask this board to award Curtin Maritime this contract despite this clerical error to ensure that the city of Los Angeles can have a 56% small business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise participation rate on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Curtin. Any questions for Mr. Curtin before we go back? I go back to Ms. McGlinchey. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
We
much.
may have some additional questions for you. Ms. McGlinchey, a few questions from my perspective, and then I may have a question for Mr. Jordan. As you heard Mr. Curtin's presentation, any thoughts in response to the Bavin system estimate claim versus the hard number claim?
He mentions those 2, but as part of the BIP, they're also required to submit a subquote. That subquote doesn't match any of the other 2 documents either.
Okay.
So we have 3 documents given to us after bid opening, of which the dollar amounts do not match, and it still doesn't address the issue that the list of subcontractors clearly stated that it must be listed there.
Okay. Excuse me. So, and you raise an issue that I'm going to jump to Mr. Jordan on. I mean, I listened to Mr. Curtin, and I realized we've got 2 first-time bidders, and we wish that, I wish that this were not, a difficult circumstance where we have had this happen, that we have to make this decision based on a protest or not. Mr. Jordan, because I think we look forward to working with both of these companies. Mr. Jordan, Ms. McGlinchey references just now these 2 or 3 different types of numbers that we're having to deal with after opening of the bids. That was the term that concerns me here. Isn't that where the potential for an unfair advantage were to play that some of these legal cases that reference the public contracting code are concerned about?
Yeah, the concerns addressed in the code are the ability to do things that affect your bid after the bids have been opened when all the bids are now known.
And everybody sees everybody.
And everybody sees anything. And when we're trying to discern sort of, what was the bidder intending to do, discrepancies between different documents really make that very difficult. Unlike a situation if everything matched up and there was a transcription error, but the underlying documents are consistent. There's another issue that was raised in the board report. I don't know if you want the staff to address it, or we have Mr. Curtin here as well, that the report indicated that they were non-responsive for failing the business inclusion program outreach as well. So even if the MSM issue could be dealt with and resolved, there's still that.
No, I understand, and I'll get to that, but I appreciate that. But going back to the point that we're on the unfair advantage, next step, if we accept, hypothetically, if we accept Mr. Curtin's position that, okay, we should use our discretion and waive this, let's put aside the other outreach issue for a minute, I'm not including that, and waive this based on what we've been discussing this morning, do we run the risk of a dangerous precedent per se for your office?
It does. We'd have to find that it did not give them a competitive advantage. And then, of course, it is something that might have to be defended, and this is not the type of error that we typically waive, so it would be difficult in that sense.
So two more questions for Ms. McGlinchey. Ms. McGlinchey, you referenced a moment ago kind of the numbers. I'm going to TechCom for a minute. TechCom had, well, first of all, Mr. Curtin raised that they're a question about whether or not they're an SBE. Are they an SBE?
Yes, they are. Part of our analysis, anytime you see someone getting credit as any particular certification, in this case, TechCom is not just an SBE, but an EBE, which is an emerging business enterprise. That means they're actually smaller than Curtin.
Okay.
But the fact is, we would have verified that, and we print the verification. So we, in fact, know that they are an SBE, an EBE, and a WBE.
Okay. So then going to the next point, you did this, I think, initially, but what percentage of mandatory subcontracting minimum are they offering? Because there was reference by Mr. Curtin on the various categories that their bid offers.
So TechCom has pledged 61.27% subcontracting.
And did the Bureau break that 61% down into any other subcategories as Mr. Curtin did for his?
Yeah, well, they have two SBE subcontractors. One is an EBE. Two of their subcontractors are local businesses, and then the remaining is OBE participation. But, and that is, and in terms of, as he mentioned, with the pledge on page 3, the listing, and how he mentioned that it's 9.27% EBE, that is not taking into account the work that will be performed by TechCom as an EBE.
And what of the issue in the board report regarding the outreach that Mr. Jordan just raised? What of that?
Yes, we had notified Curtin that they had also failed their business inclusion program outreach. It had to do specifically with one of their subcontractors in which they could not provide us a, shall I say, a firm quote. There were questions about what it was that they were doing, and we could not get a quote that matched what they had listed them for.
Commissioner Penning?
My take on this is the following, and I appreciate that Mr. Curtin showed up today. They seem like a great business. They seem like a business that we would love to work with. On this, however, and he's right, our board does have discretionary authority in some ways. For example, we can decide to waive the LBE or not waive the LBE depending on circumstances. I think that there are advantages as well for TechCom. They're small, they're women-owned, but putting all of that aside, what concerns me is that I don't think that we do or should have discretionary authority to change or waive or overlook some of the requirements that were not met in this situation, whether we felt comfortable agreeing to go back into the bid package that was submitted and say, hey, well, let's act as if this is adding up to our MSM. Let's give this person the benefit of the doubt. We still are not meeting our BIP requirement. So to me, it's more of an overreach. It would be more of an overreach than I think that I'm comfortable with in terms of the precedent that does set for our board's involvement in what we really want to be a very transparent and non-political contracting process. And that's kind of where I'm at on this. I don't feel comfortable reaching in and waving away the amount of changes that would need to be made for this package to be responsive. That said, I understand it's a frustrating situation for what would have been the low bidder if the LBE were applied, and I know it's just sometimes difficult for businesses to work through all the requirements of our contracting process, but that's our process for everyone. So that's where I'm at on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I wanted to just kind of clarify where we are in terms of policy. It is not the practice of certainly the board nor the Bureau to go back in retrospect and to change an application, right? We can't go back and insert the quote that was not put in, correct?
Correct.
And is that state law or city policy?
It's actually, I would defer to Mr. Jordan on that, but what we've always based that not doing that change on is that court case.
Sure. So that's
Yeah, I agree. It's much of this is governed by state law.
state law. So given the fact that it's state law and past practice as well, it makes it very difficult for us to override state law and past practice, and also to accommodate those who are also competing in a way that we don't violate their effort in terms of what they have done. Certainly, we welcome business from every prime contractor. We look forward to their future involvement in filling out applications. I do realize this was the very first probably application that the company did fill out for us, and we learn as we go along often in terms of the process. It's a meticulous process, and you learn through the process in that regard. But I think it's very clear to me as the board, we cannot disregard all of those other individuals who are competing by us disregarding what is past practice and is in fact state law. So to that end, I would have to agree very clearly with Commissioner Repenning in terms of the position that the board finds itself in moving forward. And quite actually, it's kind of clear to us where we are with regard to implementing a decision on this case.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything further? Then I'll make a motion that we adopt the agenda item number 9 as recommended by the Bureau of Contract Administration and the Bureau of Engineering. Is there a second? Commissioners Repenning and Davis, any objection? Without objection, that will be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Mr. Curtin, thank you. Thank you, Ms. McGlinchey, Mr. Zahedi, Mr. Jordan. Agenda item number 10, Council Districts 4 and 5, Bureaus of Engineering and Street Services, requested street closure, Wilshire Boulevard between Fairfax and Spalding Avenue for the Metro West Side Purple Line Extension Project. recommending that the board, and it'll take me a couple of minutes to read through this, so bear with me. Recommending that the board find that the Board of Public Works has reviewed and considered the information in the project draft environmental impact statement and report, it's transmittal number 1, and the project final EIR, transmittal number 2. Second, find under the California Public Resources Code, section 21166, and the California Environmental Quality Act, I'll refer to as CEQA, section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since certification of the EIR, there have been no changes with respect to the circumstances under which the temporary street closure being undertaken would require a supplement or subsequent EIR. Third, adopt the March 2012 Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program prepared by the Los Angeles County Metropolitan Transit Authority as it pertains to construction impacts. Fourth, find under CEQA section 15091 the changes have been incorporated into the project which substantially lessen the significant environmental effects as identified in the EIR. Further, find that there is no feasible alternative or additional feasible mitigation measures within the board's powers that would substantially lessen any significant effect the project would have on the environment. Fifth, adopt the attached CEQA findings of fact and statement of overriding considerations, that's transmittal number 3, as it pertains to the temporary street closure, and find that the economic, social, technological, and other benefits of the project outweigh its significant and unavoidable impacts. Sixth, specify that the Metro Transit Division of the Bureau of Engineering, located at 1149 South Broadway, and the board, located at 200 North Spring Street, and other relevant City of Los Angeles departments are custodians of the documents or other material which constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And seventh, approve the request to temporarily close Wilshire Boulevard between Fairfax and Spalding, that's phase 1, for 10 consecutive weekends, starting Fridays at 8 p.m. and ending Mondays at 6 a.m. for the following weekends, subject to the conditions identified within this report and potential condition that may be added orally to the record. Friday, February 10 to Monday, February 13. This is all in 2017. Friday, February 17 to Monday, February 20. Friday, February 24 to Monday, February 27. Friday, March 3rd to Monday, March 6th. Thought I would get through this one. Friday, March 10 to Monday, March 13. Friday, March 17 to Monday, March 20. Friday, March 24 to Monday, March 27. Friday, March 31 to Monday, April 3rd. Friday, April 7 to Monday, April 10. Friday, April 14 to Monday, April 17. Mr. Tran, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to our speakers.
Good morning, commissioners, executive staff. Thank you for reading all that recommendation. That was a good, well done job. My name is Curtis Tran with Bureau of Engineering, Metro Transit Division. Metro Purple Line has requested us to, asking me that the city, the board specifically, to grant them a temporary closure of Wilshire Fairfax for 10 consecutive weekends, which the president just read, beginning this Friday through middle of April, to install a decking system, temporary decking system over Wilshire Boulevard so they can construct a subway station at Wilshire and Fairfax while the decking will serve as a bridge for continuing of traffic on top, and excavation will be underneath the decking. The decking system will require about 18 consecutive weekends to build this. So today we request for only 10 weekends. That's phase 1. There are 3 phases to construct this decking system. Phase 2 and 3 will come back at a later date and request for closure of that. The purple line is about 9 miles long. It should probably will be 9 miles long, and it start from existing terminal station Koreatown through Miracle Miles, and also Beverly Hill, Century City, and Westwood as well. So phase one we request a temporary street closure will last about 58 hours on the weekends, starting Friday 8 p.m. and will be open to traffic on 6 a.m. on Monday morning. In relation to the closure, MTA and the city, we have reviewed and we found Metro have complied to the CEQA, that is California Environmental Quality Act, in associate related to street closure. Mitigation and monitoring the impact and mitigation measure required has been incorporated into mitigation monitoring and reporting program. In addition, LADOT have reviewed the worksite traffic control. The plan have been reviewed and approved. Council office, both CD5, 4 and 5, had concurred to this temporary closure. Majority of the plans has been approved except for one instrumentation plan which will be approved. Is in the review by the Bureau of Engineering and will be being reviewed and will be approved this Friday. Metro also have extensively did a outreach program to notify the stakeholder, notify them of this upcoming closure. Metro have obtained a work variance at nighttime from LA PD. And also they have obtained a peak hour construction exemption for this construction as well. In addition, I'd like to also mention a couple of things. This closure is very similar to the one on this project we had about a few months ago at Wilshire La Brea. That was a very successful closure. In fact, it went pretty well that we finished way earlier than was anticipated. So we're using some of the lessons learned from that Wilshire La Brea station applying to this Wilshire and Fairfax station. But granted, there's still always some challenges when you going so deep in excavation. When you open up, you don't know what you will find. But hopefully, we'll be successful as Wilshire and La Brea. So with that, I like to ask the board, grant Metro the closure request with a condition that a instrumentation baseline report shall be approved by BOE, by Bureau of Engineering before construction began. With me here today, I also have staff from our Bureau of Engineering Environmental Group, Metro, and the LA DOT staff who review the plan, the worksite traffic plan as well. If you have any question, we're ready to answer you.
Commissioner Cinto?
Thank you, President James. Mr. Chan, thank you for the report. So the instrumentation plan that you say is in review by our Bureau of Engineering will be completed by Friday, the day that the...
Absolutely. That report has to be finished and approved before construction begins. Basically, Metro installing different instrumentation to monitoring the construction and the dewiring to protect existing facilities such as utility and also building and so on, and roadway and so on. Make sure the settlement won't damage, or if something happened, there's an action alert level and we have to repair the facility before they can move on.
Understand. So in anticipation that it will be reviewed or approved by Friday.
Yeah, and I'm happy to report that as I was waiting here until my turn, some of the report has started coming in already. So we anticipate everything will be in tomorrow and by Thursday, and we'll review and approve it by Friday before excavation begins.
So in light of that, I think it's important that we move this forward because of the time frame and this purple line extension, the decking is an integral part.
Yes, absolutely. It's very critical to meet the schedule. This is a mega project. It's very difficult if we slip. Metro had to meet the federal funding grant requirement on the, to finish this project by the due date. So it's very critical to get this thing approved.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Santos. So, Curtis, we've had, and I want to compliment Metro, their project coordinators, and even the contractor on the way this has proceeded so far. It's a little unusual on this project for them to be so close to, kind of backed up against the date that they need the closure. I just want to make sure that and we'll hear from them, but I want to make sure once we get through the record that the conditions that we place are clearly on the record so that everyone knows that we're squared away by Friday morning when the closure begins.
Well, yeah, in fact, what I found out, the instrumentation, the Poshita has been in, they did install the instrumentation, and it was being monitored, and we found out, from them that, a few of those got defective, so they had to reinstall it again. These mega project is, it's very difficult. We try, and especially with the design build method delivery, the project is always schedule is aggressive, and everybody try to pull in everything, get the report, the plan done on time, and before construction. Unfortunately, sometimes these things do slip sometime, but it's not quite that bad yet. So
we're just looking for the instrumentation baseline report?
Correct.
No, not a TMP?
No, the worksite traffic control plan has been approved by LA DOT.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So just this one report?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further from Mr. Tran before we move to the the other speakers? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So Mindy Lake from Metro, Jill Steiner from, looks like Skanska, and Billy, I can't read your last name. Okay. So whoever else wants to come up next?
Good morning.
Good morning.
There are a few slides that are missing from the presentation you have in front of me, which I can provide for you later, which give you all of the data and statistics of how much outreach we've done since September up through last night at the Mid-City West Community Council, where I reminded them one more time that we are starting this closure. We anticipate starting this closure this weekend. Most importantly, because of the location of this particular closure between Fairfax and Spalding, we have some very important stakeholders in that area, not the least of which is LACMA, the tar pits, the Peterson Museum, multiple medical buildings, and just west of Fairfax, and some high-rises in the area. And between September and last night, we've had over 70 meetings, most of which 70 face-to-face meetings with stakeholders, neighborhood councils, HOAs, all over the area. And the brochure with the information for the detours went out in the mail to over 30,000 residents in the surrounding area. And we did door-to-door outreach within the Fairfax area. So we have really saturated the area with information. And so there has been no issues. They're comfortable with what they know. They are comfortable with having gone through it at La Brea. Like Curtis said, it's a similar community. But we have done a tremendous amount of outreach, and I'm in communication with the stakeholders on a regular basis. And nobody's up in arms. We're all working well together, and I think from that perspective, you can feel comfortable that the community is well aware and is prepared for this closure. Do you have any other?
It's like I don't have any questions for you. I would only add that what you've described on your outreach and the results, it's completely consistent with what we experience in the lack of concern that makes its way here because of the work that you all have done. And I've done it before, I'll do it again, but you guys keep earning it. This project team and the contractor team, it's really great work that you guys have done coordinating this very complex project. I know from our one-on-one meetings regarding the tree removals, that really couldn't have gone any better considering what we were working with there. The regular meetings with the council office. From where I sit, this is a really professional way to run a project. So a great way even. But so anything further from Ms. Lake? Commissioner Rivas?
I live in this area, and I received this in the mail.
Good.
So thank you.
See?
And now I'm reading the dates because I have to be aware,
Right.
My way to the 10 freeway, and so. But no, thank you for all of their outreach, and I've seen it in different areas in my neighborhood too, alerting. So it's not a surprise. So thank you for that great work.
And thank you for the acknowledgement. And just so you know, when we went to print on this, because we wanted to get it distributed sooner, we didn't have a specific date of this weekend. We said February because we knew it was pending today. So to address your comments earlier, it's like, yeah, we needed to know the date, but we didn't know when we went to print. So it was a little amorphous, but we've gone forward with confirming that, assuming that we get what your approval is. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. And Jill Steiner? Good morning again.
Morning. My name is Jill Steiner. I'm the Deputy Design Manager for Skanska Trailer Shea. We're the design builder for Section 1. We just gave a little handout similar to like what we did for the La Brea station closure request when we were here last summer. So I'll walk through it very quickly for you guys. The second sheet here just shows kind of an overview of how the decking is done. We need a full street closure because we remove a street section from basically curb to curb all the way across Wilshire Boulevard. The length of what we take varies by weekend depending on what we are dealing with that weekend. Sometimes it's the structural steel itself, how it's installed. Sometimes it's the type of utilities we'll be coming across. Sometimes it's the location of which the traffic flows in that area. So our stages are dependent on how we are working, but in general we work from curb to curb down Wilshire Boulevard, and we will be working in general from east to west in this location. The next couple of sheets are just some photos of the La Brea station decking going in that took place last summer. The first one here is actually the intersection of Wilshire and La Brea. As we had it closed, you could see some of the steel going in through the weekend. This was probably a Saturday afternoon here. The next sheet here is just to the west of La Brea. This is in front of the, I guess we'd maybe say the Samsung building over there. And this is just some of the deck beams going in itself. And then the third picture is what the decking looks like once it's complete. We've basically built a bridge at street level in order for the traffic to remain as we complete the station underneath. The next sheet gives kind of the dates. We now have specific dates. This was a little more general as this was pulled from the January Community Relations meeting that is held by Metro, but we plan on starting Friday, this Friday, and continuing for 18 weekends. As described by Curtis, we will be closing at 8 o'clock on Friday nights, and we will be opening up by 6 o'clock on Monday mornings. We were very successful with those time frames. Going through La Brea, we never had any issues with having those that block of time to get the work done for the weekends. The next few sheets are very similar to the handout that Mindy provided you. It just gives the detour locations for the different phases of which you will be driving. And it gives the work area and provides the local access areas for everybody. And then the last sheet here really just shows that we've coordinated with all the buses, and we know that's very important to everybody who rides the public transportation. We have coordinated very closely with them with the locations that are relocated or temporary closed for the weekend. And just one other thing I wanted to add, we work very closely with Curtis and with all the other agencies, and we fully understand the importance of having all of the plans approved before we go to work. And we know sometimes we push the limits on schedule, but we always get there, and we never proceed without having everybody happy and ready to move forward. So we appreciate that.
Great. Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Steiner?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further questions for Mr. Tran at all? So, without any further questions, Mr. Trent, I'll make a motion and just confirm that my motion's accurate, okay? So, my motion would be that we adopt agenda item number 10 with all of the conditions stated in the board report with this added condition, that the Bureau of Engineering will receive and approve the instrumentation baseline report prior to the time that the closure begins on Friday, February 10th.
Correct.
Okay?
Confer.
Confirmed. Okay, so that would be my motion. Seconded by Commissioner Cinto. Any objection? Without objection, that will be the order. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Agenda items, number 11, authority for expenditure truck owners on file. Office of Accounting and the Bureau of Street Services requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure to truck owners on file in the amount of $3 million to provide funds for the Bureau of Street Services as-needed trucking program. The as-needed truckers supplement existing staff in the transportation of materials, equipment, and debris throughout the city to maintain service levels provided by the Bureau of Street Services. Mario Interiano. Good morning, sir. Thank you for your patience.
Good morning, everyone. Mario Interiano with the Bureau of Street Services. Commissioner, last time I was here back in October, and I was here requesting additional funding for the as-needed haul truck program. You requested that I provide you a status report the next time we came forward. So I will be doing that and also requesting that you approve the motion or the request.
Okay.
The contract truck program has been around since 1890 when the City of Los Angeles recognized the need to assist city forces in the building, maintenance, and resurfacing of city roads. Since, the program has undergone many changes, and today the program is called the As-Needed Haul Truck Program to fit a more accurate description of the services provided. Over the last 5 years, the program has an average annual cost of approximately $8.76 million to haul debris, concrete, and asphalt mix to and from a variety of Bureau of Street Services projects, mainly street resurfacing related projects. There are 3 different truck classifications within the program. There's a 10, 12-wheel truck, a low side truck, and a high side truck. Various truck classifications are required to meet the several job requirements for physical or traffic conditions of the numerous projects performed by the Bureau. Currently, we have 60 independent truck owners provided.
60?
60, yes,
Okay.
correct. That provide their services to the City of Los Angeles on an as-needed basis for a term of 1 fiscal year. Typically, it starts July 1st through June 30th of the following year. Our current active list consists of 36 10, 12-wheelers, 21 low-side trucks, and 3 high-side trucks. The owners enter into an agreement and not a contract. This process is different from the city service contracts in that there is no contract between the two, and various levels of approval, that is, the mayor or city council, are not required. Under this agreement, only the approval of the Board of Public Works is required for the trucking program. Truck owners are placed on a seniority list based on their registration date. They can renew their agreement each year if they receive a satisfactory performance review by the Bureau of Street Services. Each truck classification has a separate seniority list, and the trucks are dispatched on a rotational basis. The As-Needed Haul Truck Program has an established waiting list as well. The reason for the waiting list is to create a pool of qualified applicants that is ready to come on board on board of the program within 10 days. The waiting list applicants go through the same review process as those on the active list. Currently, our waiting list consists of 56 total truckers. 41 of them are 10, 12-wheelers, 14 low-side, and 1 high-side. The Bureau is currently in the process of renewing the wait list for the fiscal year 2017-18. Last year, the Bureau spent over $10.1 million to transport approximately 887,000 tons of material at an average cost of about $10.62 per ton. This fiscal year, the As-Needed Haul Truck Program has hauled roughly 454,000 700 tons of material at an average cost of $11.24 per ton, for a total of $5.4 million through pay period 14, which ended January 14, 2017, and is on target for spending about the same as spent last year.
Mario, thank you for the kind of the metrics on this. It's very helpful. I would just ask that you come back next February and with the same kind of metrics so we can kind of see the pattern. I recognize that it's, at least in the 4 years I've been here, it's pretty, the spending has been pretty consistent. I know we had a bit of an uptick. Obviously, we're paving more streets than we were in prior years, and we've had asphalt plant 1 down for rehab. So I know that's had an effect.
Yes, correct. And part of something that also needs to be understood here as well is that we did participate in assisting the Bureau of Sanitation in doing hauling for the Lugo fire.
Right.
So
that's right.
That's part of the numbers that are incorporated within these
And that's an
figures.
aberration. You don't see that kind of stuff.
That
That's
is correct, yes.
Generally a one-off. Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I wanted to say to you, I appreciate the metrics and the data that has been given in terms of what we've been able to accomplish with this program. And additionally, I want to underscore how critically important this program is, given the fact that the Board of Public Works is the one who has administrative oversight for this program. It is important that we're able to provide work for citizens in Los Angeles under this program, and certainly it becomes very important for us to make sure that we take our oversight seriously and that we continue to be effective in this program. So I appreciate what we're able to accomplish and know that as members of the board, we are certainly committed to make sure that this is an effective program.
Thank you.
Anything further? I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 11, the authority for expenditure. Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 11. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. See you in a few months, sir.
All right, thank you.
Agenda item 12 through 15 we have accomplished. Agenda item number 16 is an oral report, quarterly status report on the Clean Streets Initiative from the Bureau of Sanitation. Mr. Garcia, are we at afternoon yet?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is it afternoon?
Thank you, sir. Still in the morning.
This is a sweet topic. I can talk for an hour. You guys got an hour? All right. Clean Streets, LA. Currently, we field 4 service teams. End of February, we will complete the 4th Hope team. The service teams deal with all the homeless encampments citywide and all the illegal dumpings that our regular bulky item crews cannot handle. Just to kind of give you a ballpark, when it comes to homeless encampments, we service or we address 500 to 700 service requests that come in through My 311, and by the same token, we receive 500 to 700 every month. So it's kind of like a revolving door when it comes to homeless encampments and illegal dumpings. Street indexing program, Commissioner Penning, we completed the 4th quarter. Data looks sneak preview. We'll address that later, but I'm going to start scheduling with your approval or with the approval of the committee, scheduling the CDs for their review. I understand that I want to try to make it a little more dynamic and bring a little bit more data and more of what we're doing. So hopefully they won't be routine and they'll send their first string instead of the second string. Working with OCB, we're starting. We're through My 311 documenting everything so we can keep a record and see how much of their assistance they're helping us out with. And one of the things that Paul and I worked out is that when we finish an alley or when we finish a huge location, we'll kind of survey the area and report all the graffiti. He welcomed it with open arms. So hopefully when we clean an alley, the immediate community gets a look at their clean alley, and then we follow up with white walls to follow. The deployment of the second phase of the ALBs, we're deployed 300. and we're on track probably Monday to deploy the next 400 that we have currently received. And like I said, just trying to keep it real simple. Just from the beginning of my 311, we've serviced over 10,000 service requests for homeless encampments and about 7,500 service requests for illegal dumping. Since August 1st, 15 to present, about a year and a half. So we're averaging about 1,000 a month. So thank you.
There's a lot going on, Mr. Garcia. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your commitment to this revolving account that you're a party to.
Well, you are, this department, this division, appropriately so, are under a microscope because the work is so important, and we know that they're looking to our levels of success here, and it's an issue of public health and quality of life, and you together, it's quite a program. Commissioner Penning.
Sure, I just want to thank you, Pepe, for all the work you and your team have been doing. There's just a huge amount of our city that's been cleaned, that will be cleaned through these new services. And, we have the newest round of data back from the end of last year, and it's tentatively showing that we've made some improvements, which I'm not surprised given the amount of work being put into it. So we have a long way to go, and certainly the challenge that homelessness presents to all of us at sanitation is something that is probably not going to go away anytime soon. But you guys are managing all of those requests along with the clean streets, the illegal dumping, the bulky items. So just wanted to give you some appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Penning. Commissioner Davis?
Yeah, I wanted to thank you just in general for the work and the service that you provide in sanitation as it relates to the homeless encampments, and in particular for the work that you do around the USC area where I drive through there every day coming to work, and that one in particular near the Coliseum is a critically important one to the neighbors. And I know that you guys clean, I guess, is it once a month that we go in, or how do we, I see you, but I don't know the timing of it.
We try to service that area at least, working with CD9, at least once or twice a month.
Okay.
But we do the encampments kind of build their own little landfills, if you want to call it, their own little dumping corners. We service that every Friday, the entire 110 corridor, Flower to Grand.
Right.
So every Friday, I mean, we can't touch their belongings because it's not posted or anything. But they kind of have gotten accustomed to our trucks coming by, so they kind of assist us throwing it in. So it's just a health and safety.
Sure. Well, it's certainly a community there, and there's a culture that has already been developed, but the services that sanitation provides for that particular area are critically important. And I wanted you to know that I appreciate it, and that particular one is an example of me being able to witness your work. So I thank you for what you do in sanitation.
On behalf of the Bureau, I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anything else? Thank you. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
And we are adjourned. The oral report will be received. Thank you, sir.